All right, riding another win. We're back. Episode what is this now? 17 of the Jets group chat pod.
Jesus.
Yeah, season's flying by, man. I looked at it today. 5-2 the Jets are, which is amazing in itself. But just like we're going into week 8 now, which in the old schedule layout, that's like the halfway.
It's halfway. Yeah.
That's the halfway mark. Obviously now there's 17 games, but the pretty much the halfway mark of the season. Jets coming off a really sloppy, fucking ugly, sloppy, nasty win over Denver. That one of the harder games to watch. Just a bad game all around by both teams. Not much action, not much offense, but I guess I'd describe it as, I don't know. What do you think? Gritty is the way I'd describe the
I
win on
would
Sunday over
I
Denver.
would definitely say gritty. I mean, that's a game. So we know that that's a game they lose. In the past, that sloppy game where it's like, oh, the Broncos, they're good, but they're not that great. But it's a winnable game that we end up finding a way to lose. We found a way to win. We overcame some adversity. We had some injuries, a lot of injuries, to be honest, and all the cards were stacked against the Jets to lose, and they still found a way to win. Officiating sucked. It was swayed
Yeah.
one way. Zach looked like shit. Let's just be honest.
Oh, terrible.
But the defense stepped up. And to be honest, like we talked about in the chat, like the defense stepped up when it counted. Like we needed one more stop. We need one more stop. You know, Sauce making huge plays when he
He's
had
so
to.
fucking good. He's so good.
I have to eat crow. I have to, man. I know PJ's gonna bust my balls, but I said, and I was like, I would have passed on Sauce. I would have went, pass rusher. But I really am happy we went that route because it really changed the entire dynamic of that defense. I know DJ Reed was nice. I know, they would have been in a better place. I don't think injecting Sauce into that defense, I don't think anybody would have thought that it would have skyrocketed them the way that it did. He really is like the second coming of Revis. He looks fucking good, dude. And I said I wanted to pass on him, and I'm man enough to admit it. I was wrong. And I fucking love it. I love him now, and he's lighting it up.
Yeah, I think you have to look at on both sides of the ball. Obviously, that rookie class, and obviously, I mean, we'll touch on it briefly, but Breece Hall on the offensive side, that long touchdown was the only Jets touchdown. But obviously, now the Jets lose Breece Hall for the season with that ACL injury, which is a fucking gut punch.
Rough. Yep.
Not a kick to the balls. It's not even a gut punch. It's a kick to the balls. Just because like not only are they riding high, the momentum's high, they're winning, they're 5-2, but they're winning mostly like with this rookie class that you got to be excited about. Like he's probably the best offensive player the Jets have had in 20 or 30 years. He's like a generational type running. Like he's the guy that everybody in fantasy football wants. And the Jets haven't had a single player in fantasy you've wanted a roster for a decade. And now he's the player that everybody wants. The targets, the rushing yards, is really the heart and soul of what they were doing offensively. And
Yep.
obviously the game plan in the last 4 or 5 weeks has shifted to being run heavy. And a lot of it was predicated on his ability out of the backfield. And now for the Jets to lose that. But I think when you look to the other side of the ball on defense, I think the heart and soul of that defense is Sauce Gardner. And so you're getting the heart and soul of both sides of the ball is in that rookie class. But I completely agree with you, Speak. I think the whole way that they run scheme wise is completely predicated on Gardner being able to take away one side of the field, a lot like Revis used to do. And it's a lot like that because Revis would kind of a lot of times just play a side. Like he wouldn't necessarily always follow the guy. Like he would just say, like, I'm going to take away this side of the field.
This is my side. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. And you could scheme it differently. You don't have to blitz now because you can let your front four eat, let them feast, let them, get their sacks when they get them. But you're going to get a lot more coverage sacks where guys are just fucking not open. And there's nothing you could do. And now you're holding the ball for too long, longer than you'd like. And boom, here comes, Bryce Huff on the outside, or here comes Lawson or Quentin Williams. How fucking good has he been this year, man? My God.
That was bringing me to my next point. It's one thing when you have Sauce, the obviously named today the defensive player of the week. I mean, the guy wins an award every week. Rookie of the week, defensive player of the week. Doesn't matter what it is at this point. He's going to win them all. He's got to be the front runner for the defensive rookie of the year, I'd imagine at this point in the halfway mark. But on that other side, when you have Reed kind of doing the same thing, I mean, I think you could make the argument Reed and Gardner are the best corner tandem in the league, if not they're the top two or three, I would
Yeah.
think in terms of a duo. But when you also have a guy developing and turning a corner, it seems like Quinn Williams has, and getting to the quarterback and getting consistent rush, when you have the two sides locked up and you got a beast and this bull in the middle that just is getting to the quarterback at will, like you said, the defense can go from 30 in the league to a top 3 or 4 defense just by adding two corners and having that first round pick kind of develop. And I mean,
Hmm.
you're hearing a lot of people, the way you talk about Quinn Williams this year, you're hearing them like mention him in the same conversation as Aaron Donald.
Which is
And
crazy, but it's warranted.
not to say that he's at that level yet. He doesn't have the sack numbers quite like he does, but just like the the pressure percentages and the amount that he's actually getting to the quarterback and the hurries and all that, like they're all right on par with Donald numbers. And
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy that he's reaching that elite class. But yeah, obviously a sloppy window coming out of Denver, but on the flip side is it's bittersweet. You take the W however you can get it. You're 5-2 going into a division matchup with New England this week, but obviously, like I said, you lose Hall, and then to make matters worse, you also lose Corey Davis in that game. You lose Elijah Vera Tucker in that game. You're kind of skating by with whoever's available, next man up. And you find out
Yeah.
the next day. You find out Hall is confirmed torn ACL, fucking Dunzo for the year. And then you're like, all right, well, now we need to know about Vera Tucker. Like Vera Tucker's the heart and soul of that line. He's versatile. He's played every role on that line. They're probably not 5-2 without him doing what he's done.
Nope.
And so I think I was skeptical. Like it sounded like the night before when you listen to Solid Talk in the post game presser, it didn't sound good for Breece. Like we knew Sunday night, he even said it. Initial is like not
Doesn't look
good.
good.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. And he kind of just said, "Oh, we'll find out tomorrow on Elijah and Corey." Where it sounded like he was a little bit more optimistic on that front. So I thought like best case scenario, like you lose Vera Tucker for 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe you have to put him on IR, lose him for 4 weeks. But um, for an hour later, when you find out you lose Hall confirmed, to then fucking find out you lose AVT for the year with a was it a torn tricep that he
Torn
had?
tricep. Yep. And he's essentially, I mean, Bryce was Bryce, which is great, but you would almost say that AVT was the MVP of this team right now. 100% for all that he did.
We said it last week. I wore the fucking guy's jersey. We were raving
Yeah.
about him.
And I mean, it's definitely a big blow, but like you said, it's now next man up, and everybody's got to step up. And obviously the line. Hopefully, you're going to get Fant back soon. You're going to get Max Mitchell back, and hopefully he could slide back into that right side. But now it's put up or shut up time for Zach Wilson, because now the offense is going to be a lot more is going to be put on his shoulders. He's not going to have. I mean, we're going to get into James Robinson in a second, but you're not going to have that tried and true running game to just lean on and just let them make crazy plays. He's going to have to settle down, make good throws. I need to see, honestly, like Pittsburgh Zach. I
Yeah.
need to see where like he's making consistent third down throws. He's make every throw you need to, and then some. So obviously there's going to be a couple plays that like, oh, that shouldn't have been a catch, but nice tight window throw, or he does a sidearm shit, whatever you want to call it, makes a play. But make the easy throws. I mean, you want to talk about sloppy. I was just looking at the throw chart that he had. It looks like there's 5 passes past 10 yards, and he missed pretty much all of them. He had his, Uzma open a couple times, and he just missed them. A couple throws, even the ones that he did complete, he's throwing behind guys. He's like, he had happy feet. And I don't know if that's because that Denver pass rush is rough. Like not Nick Chubb, Bradley Chubb is awesome. So did he just get skittish and he got happy feet? Who knows? But he's got to clean it up. He's got to come back. They have to dial up a very good passing attack for him. A lot of slants, a lot of outs, quick stuff, 1-2 maybe reads. But this offense now has to change because you're taking Breece out. Now you're taking Corey Davis out. Elijah Moore, listen, Twitter turned on you a little bit, rightfully so, not rightfully so, who cares? Come back, got your mind right. You are going to feast right now. Get open. You're going to get your touches now more than ever. So just like, let's see what they can do. And I'm hoping, again, division game, big game. Everyone's riding high. You got your stealth unis coming back on Monday. MetLife is going to be rocking. But keep going. Don't get the big head. Don't get too ahead of ourselves. It still should be every game, every week is a new game, new season mentality. Don't care about what we did. Don't care about what we got coming up. No look ahead game to Buffalo. Win the game in front of you, win the day, and we'll see what happens. But I'm optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. More so than I was a couple weeks ago. I think they're there. They're getting their recognition, but you got to keep it going, keep momentum because this shit can switch like that.
Yeah, and I think that's where the fan base is at right now too. I think they're super excited to be 5-2, and I feel like the fan base is generally pretty optimistic going into this New England game. It's a game despite the injuries, whatever, it's a game that they think they should win. It's at home. It's a struggling New England game coming off one of the most embarrassing losses of the Bill Belichick era, which could be a blessing or it could be a curse. I mean, you could look at it one way or the other. But it seems like all week they won. They're 5-2. First time they've done that in like what, fucking 7 or 8 years that they've been that off to such a good start. But it's hard for people to feel great about it because of the way Zach Wilson has played in Denver and to a degree the way he played in that Green Bay game. It feels like the passing game is regressed. When he came back in that Pittsburgh game, you're like, oh fuck yeah, like Zach's the man. Like we're gonna do some shit now. And it feels like the last 2 games he's gone backwards rather than building off that encouraging season debut.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, you could go off the bat, and I mean, Green Bay and Denver are top 5 defenses in the league. Denver
it was raining in both games. Like it was like there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of excuses you could put out there for Zach Wilson. I mean, are some of those excuses? Yeah, like Denver's a great fucking defense. Patrick Surtain is right there with Sauce Gardner as one of the 2 or 3 best corners in the league. I mean, Doug Peterson, the Jaguars coach, said that today. They're facing Denver this week, and he said Patrick Surtain's a top 2 corner.
100%.
And the media asked him, "Oh, who else is in the top 2 with him?"
He knows.
And he said Sauce Gardner. So I mean, those are arguably the 2 top corners, but you have Surtain out there is just like having Sauce out there, along with the pass rush. I mean, nobody's played Denver this year and like blown them out. They haven't gotten blown out of any game. The defense has kept them in there. And if you look at the quarterback logs for all of the games against Denver this year, they've all been fucking.
They made Herbert look bad. I mean, they made everybody look bad.
But I mean, Zach Wilson also has a lot of blame to place on himself. And was the line bad in the first half? Sure, he was running for his life a lot of the time. But there was plenty that he left out there as well. He missed a lot of passes, like you said, threw behind guys, missed guys wide open, didn't hit the reads when guys were open. And sometimes he tries to play hero ball and he tries to do too much when the pass rush is bad. He rolls out, and it feels like he constantly rolls out. Like he can't just stay in the pocket, set his feet, and like trust his shit.
But that's the kind of quarterback he is. He likes to be on the move. You know, if it's almost like, remember, like, honestly, I'm not equating it. Remember when Darnold, the knock on him was like, you give him a clean pocket, he looked like shit. But if you throw him on the run, it's like he didn't have to think. It was just reaction. And I kind of get a sense of that from Zach. But like, he held on to the ball too much. And again, don't get me wrong, he was escaping a lot of should-be sacks. He made some dumb decisions after and still held on to the ball too much. But it was almost like, I remember reading somewhere on Twitter, he's like, Zach against the Denver defense was like he escaped the straitjacket just to drown in the pool around like that he was in. Like he couldn't get out of his own way. He couldn't like make that like whether it's thrown away or just a dump off. It wasn't there. Nothing was there.
But there were things there, and that's the issue. Like it doesn't when you're watching it in real time and the guy's getting rushed, you don't think there's anything there. But like when you watch the actual game tape version of the overhead and you see he took 3 steps and the guy was wide open on a slant, and then when he goes to cock it, then the guy's on his, like, sometimes he just takes too long to throw the ball. He takes too long to see the play develop. And I mean, he does that. It's happened. There's no question. But I think at this point, like you said, that where they are now without Breece Hall, without Vera Tucker, the offense is going to have to change the scheme a little bit. Like he's going to have to do more. I think the only reason, I mean, Wilson's played terribly the last 2 weeks, especially this Denver game, but he didn't play well in the Green Bay game either. But I think now the reason that they're winning these games is because he's not turning the ball over. He's not playing well, but he's still not turning the ball over, which is a credit to him. But like if he played that shitty and had 2 interceptions, they probably lose.
They lose 100%.
He's playing shitty, but he's still taking care of the ball. He hasn't made that dreadful decision where you're like, why the fuck did he
Or
do
the
that?
pick six that changes momentum, that changes everything. I think you're right. And again, I'm not going to say that the 4-win streak that he's on
But
is
eventually, if you keep playing this shitty, those
it's going to
mistakes are going to
happen.
happen. Like he's. I think it's almost a measure of luck. Like he's done what he has to do, and I mean, there's been a few plays where like guys have dropped interceptions or
Yeah.
what. Like he's thrown the ball a couple times that could have easily been picked that weren't. But when you look in the stat line, there's no fumbles lost, there's no interceptions, and that's why they're winning. But
Yep.
if you add another turnover in there in any of those games, that swings the game and you lose. That's the so one positive thing that you could say about Wilson is that he hasn't turned the ball over. But you hope now that without Hall and without Vera Tucker, who knows if you're going to have Corey Davis out there at least for
I
the
don't
next
think
couple,
so. Couple weeks.
at least for a couple weeks. At this point, you're going to have to rely on Zach Wilson to make some plays. I mean, that's what
But
you drafted him for, and he's going to have to make some plays.
100%. And here's what you drafted the other guys for. This is why you drafted Elijah Moore. This is why you drafted Garrett Wilson for this exact reason. Not saying there's going to be a couple games we're going to play defense that, you know what, Breece Hall just doesn't have it, or the running game is just not there. They're stacking the box, whatever. It's going to force Zach to make plays. You've got the talent on the outside to do so. Usually, I mean, back in a couple of years ago, you didn't have that. So it's like, hey man, the running game's gone. Our shining toy we have is gone. Now what do? They have the opportunity to alter, but they just have to do it. Like right now, easily get quick 3-step drops, slants, quick outs. You got Elijah Moore, who's shifty as fuck, and Garrett Wilson, who can do exactly what we know he can. And then you got the tight ends in the middle. Make it work. You can make it work. You have the talent to make it work. Dial up something quick. You could take your shots, but don't use Elijah Moore for go routes. Don't use
Yeah,
him strictly for 9 goes. Like, get creative. And now, without Breece Hall, you're going to have to be creative if you want to keep this winning streak alive. Like, don't. I mean, I know the Patriots have been losing. They don't look great either, but they're also no slouch. And outside of the anomaly that I think Monday night is, Bill Belichick puts young quarterbacks in a fucking blender. And I'm sure as hell he's going to do that this week on Sunday. So
don't forget what they did to us last year. They put 52 up on us last year. Don't think fucking Salah forgot about that.
exactly. But again, and again, I think the defense is in a better place. I trust the defense. This offense is still shaky. We're going to get to James Robinson. Great addition. Is he going to play much on Sunday? Who knows? Michael Carter is still the lifeblood of this offense and still the heart and soul. But Zach, make the throws you need to make and one or two other plays, and I think they'll be fine. But like, just now's the time. Now
Yeah.
there's no excuses. It's going to be a good day. You're at home. You got your stealth black. You're playing against a team that you are better than. That's another thing. We played against these other teams. We're like Denver's, who knows, but they got a great defense and still Russell Wilson. Hey, the Packers, they're on a skid. We're not sure, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. They won games they shouldn't have won. Now you're back to this situation where this is a game now you should win. Now you're playing from ahead. It's not playing with house money. You're not playing with no expectations and like, what do you have to lose? Let's see what you got. This is a game you should win. This is a game we should be the Patriots. Your philosophy now is different. These guys' mentality is going to be different. Just win the game. Figure it out. Win the game. I don't care if it's ugly. You could deal with the Twitter trolls like, oh, Zach, he's throwing for 200 yards, whatever. He's 4-0. I
I
don't give
don't
a
care.
fuck. I really don't care.
I don't care what. And this brings us back to like our Elijah Moore rant last week when we talked about that. Like, I don't care who catches what. I don't care who has what targets, how many touchdowns, how many. Like, to me, at this point, where I am in my Jets fandom is the wins mean the most to me because they've been so hard to come by. Now they're coming. I don't care how they come.
Win,
I'll take 16-9 wins in fucking Denver every day, and I'll take a
winning
16.
is the yeah. Go ahead.
I'll take a 16-9 win again this weekend in the fucking rain, and you could tell me there's
So
5
what?
fumbles and 4
Win.
interceptions, and Zach throws for 130 and a pick and doesn't have any touchdowns, and they squeak it out. I don't care. Just win.
Winning is the best deodorant. And you
Yeah.
could disguise a lot of the bullshit that really is going on. I'm not saying a lot of that there's a lot of bullshit, but like the injuries, Zach playing like shit, the Elijah Moore stuff, like the winning, it's like no one cares. It's like, yeah, it's there, but like who really cares? Because we're winning. The moment you lose, the moment you lose this game, then you got to go into Buffalo and then the bye. Like that could be a rough 3-week stretch.
And then they get New England again out of the
And then
bye.
Exactly. And then again, there's winnable games because then you got Minnesota, then you got to
Yeah.
play Miami again. That's the end of the season. The Bears, who possibly could be looking better, Jacksonville, who looks better. Like winnable games, you can go on a skid real easily.
It's the
So
NFL, of course.
exactly, but if you're winning, it masks all the other bullshit we've got. Like all this stuff, it's like, hey, Elijah Moore, hey, man, who cares, man? We're winning. Zach Wilson, oh, he threw for this. He had 100 yards, he only completed 10 passes. Who cares? He won. If you don't win, now all that shit gets amplified. Did Zach lose us the game? Is this happening because of Zach? Is Zach the answer? Do we need a quarterback in next year's draft? Like winning is good to an extent, but still, like you've got to be a little bit more than a game manager, and you've got to just like keep the pressure, do what you need to do, and just and then a little bit extra. That's it.
Yeah, because I think you have to look at it in this respect. When we talked before the season about like what we needed to see from the Jets this year, I think the consensus among us all in the chat was that we need to see Wilson take another
Progression.
step and
Yeah.
progress. And granted, he didn't start the season; he started out hurt, so we're only 4 weeks into Zach Wilson this season. But we didn't expect this in terms of wins and losses. We didn't expect to be this successful, at least in the early juncture this season. I think that we pretty much thought they'd beat Chicago, they'd beat Jacksonville, they'd beat Detroit. Like we thought they'd win 4 or 5 games maybe in the second half of the schedule and go
When it
five
got
and
easy.
5-12. But like now like expectations shifted. They're 5-2. They're firmly secured into a playoff spot at the moment, and so expectations have changed. But I think the manner now, in terms of like where you are on a franchise schedule, in terms of like development and where you want to be as a team and developing your players, um, I think they were ahead of schedule. But I think now that you lose Breece, you lose AVT, I don't know that that expectation level changes. But I think like you have to look at the rest of the year almost now as like gravy. Like you need Zach Wilson to play well now. Like you want to win games and you want to keep winning, but I think the rest of this year has to be a pretty big emphasis on Zach Wilson because you win 9 or 10 games and Zach Wilson plays like shit in those 4 or 5 more wins. Do you know anything more about Zach Wilson going into year
No, you're
three
right
than you
where we
know about him
started.
now? So yeah, we want to win. We want to make the playoffs. That's the goal. But I think now you're going to find that out though, and that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Is now you don't have to you Breece Hall doesn't have to disguise Zach Wilson's deficiencies at this point because if they're going to win 5 more games and win 10 games or 9 games or whatever they're going to win, they're going to have to do it on Zach Wilson because if he doesn't play well, I don't know if they're going to win 5 more games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to know a lot more about Zach Wilson at the end of this year because of the Breece Hall and
Yeah.
AVT
It's gonna
injuries. Then
force him to. Yep.
it's going to force him. They're going to, and it's you're going to find out about a lot about LaFleur too. I mean, he doesn't have that toy at his disposal now. It's like having a cheat code that gets taken away from you. So now you have to really scheme things up. And I agree with you. I think this, especially this week, the way New England plays D, like their corners are solid. Like their secondary is usually pretty decent all the time. But I think this is the week where like you dial up slants, you dial up quick hitters, maybe play with some
And let them
tempo.
go. Yeah. Let them figure it
You
out.
you notice these last 2 weeks, Green Bay and in Denver, they really didn't go like no huddle at any point. They didn't play tempo at all, and they
Mm-hmm.
did that a lot in that Pittsburgh game because they were trailing in the second half. But again, I talked about it after that Pittsburgh pod. Zach Wilson's a different guy when they play tempo. He seems super comfortable. He doesn't have
Because he
time to.
doesn't have to think.
He doesn't have to exactly
Exactly.
does not have time to think about the situation. He just reacts to the play and he makes the play 9 times out of 10. And I think LaFleur should really dial up a fast tempo offense, at least the majority of the time. It just seems like that's his comfort zone. And I think that's the best way to get Elijah Moore cooking. You want
Mm-hmm.
to keep him happy. He's back at practice now. You hope he's on the same page. Let bygones be bygones. But I think the best way to get him involved early is a couple 2 or 3 step drops, hit him on a slant, let him take it 30 or 40 yards, or maybe
It's
have LaFleur dial up a couple those gadget plays that have been going to Braxton Berrios these last couple weeks, the end arounds or
give it to him.
the options. Give more 1 or 2 of those. Get him cooking. Give him the ball out of the backfield. I mean, he's fucking quick. He's elusive. And now that you don't have Breece Hall, you're going to have to get creative with plays like that. And it feels like this is the perfect opportunity for LaFleur to get on the same page with Wilson, to get on the same page with Moore, get those 2 guys in sync. And
Mm-hmm.
who knows, maybe the whole injury as devastating as it is,
Ignite something else.
maybe becomes a blessing in terms of
Yeah.
another developing relationship with Wilson and some of these receivers. But we're definitely going to find out a little bit more about Zach Wilson. I think faster than we maybe anticipated.
And that's what I want to see, especially in that first drive. Like now you've had a week to script it up. Like on the first drive, that's exactly what we need to see. Obviously, you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to make adjustments mid-game where maybe they'll take those slants and they'll take those things away and they'll force, Zach to do other things. But that first drive, you should die up, like you said, 4 or 5 or 6. I mean, don't run the ball. Run it all up tempo.
Right.
Have 3 on your wristband and let's just go.
All right.
See what happens. I don't want to see a fucking 3 and out where it's run, he steps back, and the pressure collapses and a sack. And it's like, let's say we had 2 yards or -4 yards in the first round, and we punt. Like the defense is playing well. You can't rely on the defense. We've got to work. I still have yet to see a game. Even though we're 5-2, which I love, I've yet to see a complete game. It's offense carries the defense, or the defense carries the offense. And honestly, as of late, it's been the latter. Defense has been carrying this offense. Where's the 40 spot? Where's the air raid attack? Like, just if Zach loves up tempo and he has too much time to think, run Chip Kelly offense.
Yeah.
Run the whole thing, out of no huddle. Everybody look and do college shit. What's gonna have him work? But whatever it is, dial up a good scheme and just and make it work. Figure out a way to win because this team has a lot of grit. This team has a lot of go-getter to them. And, we've been playing with house money because we're 5-2, but now expectations are shifting. And it's like, you're going to start being favored in some games, or you should be beating these teams. Do it. You can't falter and crack under the pressure because all that momentum that you built is going to be gone. And you're going to start losing to shitty teams.
Yeah, I agree. And I think another part of that too is now the running game is obviously going to shift. You're going to have to rely on Michael Carter, who's, I mean, he's a passable back. He carried the rock last year and he did an admirable job. He's effective out of the backfield and in the passing game as well. But the Jets obviously, if you're listening here, you've already heard about it. But the Jets obviously swing the trade Monday night for James Robinson and get him in the house from Jacksonville. Solid back, really good trade. Sent a 6th round pick that's probably going to turn into a 5. I think he only needs like 250 more rushing yards the rest of the year for that pick to turn into a 5. But I mean, really good. I think as good as you can do for a 5, as good as of a trade you could make given the situation. Is James Robinson, Breece Hall? No. I mean, there's 2 or 3, 4 backs at most in the league that are comparable to Breece Hall, but you're getting a solid, I mean, former Pro Bowler, kind of rookie of the year.
Young guy
13 or 1,400 yards in his rookie year.
Yep.
I mean, just an insane 2020 season. Tore his Achilles last year, so he's in his first year back from coming off an Achilles injury, but it just seemed like the Jaguars wanted to pave the way for Travis Etienne to get more carries. And but yeah, I mean, Robinson's only 24. He's going to be a restricted free agent. So the Jets kind of control him moving forward, whether they want to keep him or not.
And it eases the burden next year for Breece Hall because he tore his ACL in October. Mm-hmm. So you figure that's a 10 to 12 month injury. Yeah, he might be back by the start of training camp, but he might start the season on the pup.
Yeah, he might not be ready till next October. It might be a year.
So that now eases the burden because now essentially you can have still that 2-headed monster with Robinson and Michael Carter, and then ease Breece back and not force him back. And then when he's back, then you got a fucking monster triple threat between all 3 of them.
Yeah.
You could do anything.
You could do whatever you want.
Yeah. I think it was a good move by Joe Douglas. I know a lot of people wanted Kareem Hunt. But
see, to me, I at first I wanted Hunt too, but you think about the baggage in his past and the character issues. I mean, I don't know how he's been in Cleveland the last 2 years in terms of off the field stuff. I haven't heard much, but obviously he left Kansas City for a reason. It doesn't seem like a guy that Joe Douglas would kind of target given his kind of questionable past. And so the more I kind of thought about that angle to it, I figured he'd probably shy away from it. And obviously now he's moved on to Robinson.
And it would have been a true rental. At least now you control, the future a little bit more with a young guy with a lot of talent. Yeah,
he's younger. I think he's three years younger than Hunt. I think Hunt's going to be 27. Robinson's only 24, going to be 25. So he's about 2.5 years younger than Hunt.
In running back years, that's It's like
Yeah, yeah. I
a
mean,
career.
yeah, I mean, 27's old for a running back at this point. I mean, a lot of that core of like the last 3 or 4 years is all in that, like Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry. They're all getting 27, 28 years
They're
old.
on
And
the other side of
and
the.
yeah, in 2 or 3 years, those guys are all going to be out of the NFL, and you're going to have this next crop of Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall, and Javonte Williams. Those guys are going to be 27 or 28 before you kind of look up and blink. But
Mhm.
yeah, huge addition, I think. I mean, you obviously needed to bring in a veteran running back. I wasn't comfortable going with Ty Johnson as the two. I mean, it was questionable whether the guy was even going to make the team coming out of training camp. You can't tell me that you were going to give that guy 11, 12, 13
Yeah,
valuable touches a
full
game
carries.
while you're trying to make the playoffs. So I thought it was pretty obvious that Joe was going to go after somebody, whether it was Hunt or Cam Akers or Melvin Gordon or somebody like
Anybody.
that. Yeah, anybody. I thought he would for sure go after a veteran. But I feel like given what they gave up, and how the style and you incorporate that all in, I thought it was as good as Joe could have done. To me, I don't know. Like I don't obviously watch a lot of Jacksonville being in here in New Jersey. I mean, you probably get their games on local TV more than we do up here, but
Hmm.
I doubt you pay much attention. Nobody wants to watch Jacksonville. But just kind of watching some highlight film of him and the couple games that I've seen him play against the Jets the last 3 years. He kind of reminds me of Thomas Jones, like running style. Like
Yeah.
he's not like Breece Hall fast. Um, but he's a solid pass blocker, really good pass blocker, which is I think huge, especially if you're not going to have Vera Tucker out there and you have a makeshift offensive line half the time where guys are in and out week to week.
Hmm.
An extra pass blocker back there that could kind of block and give Zach a couple extra seconds, I think is huge. But that kind of stood out to me was the pass blocking. But hits the hole hard, man. Like he runs mad. And like reminded me of like can hit the hole and shift a little bit. But he's definitely like a north-south runner. He's not gonna like
Yeah.
juke
He's not
anybody and go,
he's not totally shifty, but he's serviceable. He's
yeah,
good. He's above average. And again, he's young. I mean, the big thing was, he didn't look the same early on this year after the Achilles injury. And I mean, who does after an Achilles injury? But again, we didn't trade for him, in training camp and it's like, hey, we're expecting you to be their workhorse, throughout the
right.
year. He's had some, some work under his belt in this year already. So he's got that, like he's going to start getting into that groove. I think, towards the end of the season, I mean, he might possibly out touch and maybe possibly outrush Michael Carter.
I agree.
Just he's a true workhorse. He was until they drafted ETN. He was last year when ETN, got hurt as well. So either way, I think, or not last year, 2 years before that. But either way, I think it's a solid pickup, and I think it eases the burden on the entire offense. Now you're not totally disregarding the run game. You still have a run game. It's not Breece Hall, but it's still a good run game that's serviceable and can win games with and can run the rock. But again, back to the point, Zach Wilson's still got to nut up or shut up and do a little bit more because of the injury and because same thing with Vera Tucker. He's just got to do a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think the way you probably scheme it up is I think you kind of shift the role. Like it was pretty much assumed once Breece went down, like you were going to give the carries to Carter, and then
Keep
like
it the exact same way. Just give
I
it to Robinson.
right, I think Robinson's going to take those Hall carries. I don't think Carter's going to get more. Like obviously maybe this week because like Robinson's had the playbook for like a day and a half, but
Mm-hmm.
I think just moving forward, I think Robinson's that bell cow guy that you give it to on first, second down, or you put them both on the field at the same time. But I don't think you're really going to change the Carter role because I don't think Carter's at his best when he's like running up the gut or like
No.
he's better in the passing game. He's better if you give him 7 or 8 rushing attempts a game and you give him
Get him on the outside.
6 or 7 targets in the passing game and you give him 13 or 14 touches. But I think if you need a third and one, I don't want to go to Michael Carter needing that first down. I think you're giving the ball to James Robinson when things are where they're going to be and
Yeah.
when he's caught up. But before that trade made, that's why I think I was a little skeptical. I'm like, oh man, like Carter's good, but like that guy can't be like a third. That guy can't be a 3 down back. And what are we gonna do? Bring Ty Johnson in on passing downs? The guy's
Yeah. No.
hands of concrete. So Definitely wasn't a good look. So I would definitely look for Robinson to get the majority of the touches in the backfield. And I would think you'll still see Carter a lot coming out of the backfield, and he'll have touches mixed in. But I think those 14 or 15 rushing attempts are probably going to come from Robinson um, on a primary basis once things are up and running. But yeah, just an
Good point.
exciting trade, and I think it's nice for a change. The Jets are actually buyers at the trade deadline and not being in rumors of like, oh, are they going to trade Jamal Adams? Are they going to trade Leonard Williams? Are they going to trade this guy? Are they going to trade that guy? It's oh no, we're trading picks now to get some veteran reinforcements to kind of shore up the team to make a playoff run, and that's something that the Jets haven't done in a really long time. So I think it shows Joe Douglas' commitment, and I like that he did it the night of the whole injury. Like he didn't wait till the day of the deadline. He didn't wait to see how
He
this
went
Sun.
right in.
He didn't wait to see how things were going to shake out this Sunday, and oh, now they're 5-3. We're going to go to Buffalo, and it's going to be 5-4. Maybe I'll just stand pat. No, he was aggressive. He went and got the guy that was best for the package that he was able to give up. Um, and it's a good fit, and it showed aggressiveness, and it showed his commitment to at least show the team that he believes in them, and shows
Yeah.
that he thinks they can make a playoff run.
He
So
knows where they want to go. And he knows
right.
playoffs are in our sight, and it's not just a fallacy. It's not a pipe dream. Like I think they expect to make the playoffs this year, 100%.
And where they are now, they should, given what they've done and what they have ahead in terms of the schedule. Regardless of injury, I mean, it's there. They still have good players. The defense is still upper echelon in the league. They still have talent on offense. They still have a couple good linemen. Dwayne Brown's been playing well. Like you said, you have Max Mitchell and Fant coming back to hopefully shore up
Mm-hmm.
that line. And you have Garrett Wilson. You have Elijah Moore still out there on the outside. So there's still talent there, and I think they know that. And there's a lot of winnable games that should result in them making the playoffs if all goes well. But
Yep.
how just how you feeling before we wrap here? What are we thinking? I know we talked a little bit, but New England obviously coming off a really bad loss on national TV. It's a
Scares me.
it's a Bill Belichick special. I think he's going. It's also a juicy storyline. I think he's going for like the all-time wins for a head coach to
It's
break.
a lot of subplots to this game.
Yeah,
Why start Mac Jones? I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm not playing conspiracy theory guy. And again, I know we'll dive into it, but I read the gambling lines. First off, why the Jets are home dog when you're
disrespect.
better, and the line went down to 1.5, then went back up to 2.5. I don't know, but like there's a lot of storylines here, and Bill Belichick still Bill Belichick. And he loves putting young quarterbacks into blenders. I don't know. I'm weary. I believe in this team. I think they're great. I think the wind got knocked out of them, and their wind got kicked beneath the sails with Breece and ABT gone. I definitely don't care what anybody says. It's going to affect what happens on Sunday. I know next man up, but I mean honestly, I hate to say it, but I expect another like low scoring, like not uneventful, but like sloppy game.
Yeah,
I know, MetLife's going to be rocking. I think from a fan perspective, it's going to be amazing. But I don't know. This game makes me nervous, and it's still the Patriots, and it's still, Bill Belichick. I think it's going to be another like 17-20 or 21-14 game. But I don't know. I'm more nervous for this game than I was the Packers, and I was Denver. I have to be honest with you.
really. See,
Yeah.
I was super nervous going into Denver. I thought that was a big trap game. I mean, and that's also another like now that the Jets are pretty decent or a respectable team. I won't say they're good. I won't say they're bad. They're a respectable team. They're not the same old Jets on everybody's schedule where they just chalk it up as a win. They're obviously a competitive team, but I think from our perspective, with them being 5-2 and the way they've played, I think we also go into every week when we do these predictions. And for us now, every game is a trap game. That's not
Oh
Buffalo.
yeah.
Every game's a trap game now. Chicago, trap game. Jacksonville, trap game. If you keep winning all these games every week, you could say this is a trap game.
Where's the letdown happening?
Right.
Yeah.
At some point, it's going to happen. The other shoe's going to drop. And the key is when that other shoe drops and they eventually lose a game, it's not losing another one. Like you don't want to go on a 4-game losing streak just as fast as you went on a 4-game winning streak.
And that's what scares me about this game, to be honest with you. Like all the cards are stacked against the Jets here. And what I mean by that is not just like if there's a better team in front of us. I mean, there's too many anyone who knows sports, anyone who's played sports, anyone who's covered sports, anyone who knows sports knows what I'm about to talk about. But there's too many things like stacked against them where it's like a look ahead game. Everyone's talking about the Jets and the Bills are the two top teams in the AFC East, or the Jets are, top 5 in the full AFC, and then you got the Bills coming in. So that's a look ahead game. So I already know that's there. Then it's the Patriots coming off a terrible nationally televised game, and they're pissed off. And this has always been the little brother to the AFC. The Jets have always been the little guys playing the Patriots for as long as we can remember. So that's stacked against you. Then you got Bill Belichick, who's the king of knowing how to kill rookie or young quarterbacks, and just dialing up schemes to do it. You got that. Then you got the injuries that have piled up. Then you've got everybody expecting to win. It's like it's too much. We're like not the bubble needs to pop, but it's like we have to just like take a breath, like, oh shit, we lost. All right, we are where we are. Let's resettle. Let's do it. But the problem is when you do that, then you got the Bills next. And let's be honest, we're not expecting a win there because they're beating the shit out of everybody. I don't know. It's just one of those games. It's a true trap game. It scares me. If the Jets win, I would be like, yeah, I saw it. I get it. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if we lose 21-17 or 20-17, because it's like, oh yeah, we knew it was coming. With the injuries, we knew Bryce, the new offense and everything. Just don't make it a habit and don't get blown out. Don't get your doors blown off. If you lose by under a touchdown, like shit happens. Like whatever. It's the NFL, whatever. You're playing with house money.
Right.
You walk in there and you lose fucking 40-10, we got a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
Yeah. I agree. I look at it a little bit different. I'm a little skeptical, but I wouldn't say I'm nervous. Like I said, I was more nervous going into Denver and Green Bay. But the more that I've watched this team play, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, it gives me a lot of confidence going into these games. To me, like you could chalk it up. New England still, fuck them. Like this isn't New England anymore. Like this isn't the Patriots that you think they were. Like, and at some point you just like have to clear your mind that like they're not that team.
But
anymore.
If here's the Patriots and here were the Jets, and they're not where we are, we're not where we are. It's still you still have to meet in the middle. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, so where's that edge? That's where I'm coming from.
I get it. They're just not a good team, and I don't think they're a good team. And are the Jets great? No, but they're a better football team than the Patriots. They are. There's just more talent there. I mean, there's not a lot of pieces there. I mean, Matt Judon's a fucking megazord on defense for them. But other than that, there's not a whole lot there. You don't even know who your quarterback is on a week-to-week basis or a drive-to-drive basis. And I don't think either of them are very good. I mean, I think Mac Jones is probably a little bit better than Zappy, but like the way that they've been going, like they don't even know who their guy is. And like I can't picture a scenario of like fucking flabby, pasty Mac Jones walking into a roaring MetLife Stadium with 70,000 people screaming, and he's going to torch Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. Like, if he does, God bless him. Like, but I can't see it unfolding that way. They don't run the ball very well. We've been stout against the run. We've had a good pass rush. I'm more confident in the team because of the way the defense is played than I am the offense. I'll put it that way. And for that reason, that's why I think, like you said, I think we're in for another lower scoring, scrappier type game. But I could see like a 24 or 21-13 or 21-10. Like if the Patriots score over 20, I'd be super surprised just the way the defense is played. I don't think they have it in them to do that to the Jets D. I think the Jets D is really good. And they're locked in, man. Like the D's buzzing, Gardner's playing with a swagger, Reed's playing with a swagger. Like they beat them, it's not going to be in the passing game. And I'll go on record as saying that if they do, I'll fucking eat crow next week. I'll wear it, but I've been pretty spot on my predictions the last couple of weeks of how I felt going into these games, and that's just how I'm feeling. I don't think New England's a very good team, and I mean, there's a lot of people going on record now saying that like maybe this wasn't Belichick the whole time. Maybe it was more
Brady.
It was Brady. Like Asante Samuel went on Twitter saying that today. He's like, now you're all seeing that it wasn't really Bill Belichick. It was more Tom Brady, and there's been a lot of criticism like that, and I know a couple people that are Patriots fans that echo that same sentiment. They're just saying Bill's a coach, but he's an okay coach. But like when you have Brady all those years, it masks a lot of things. And
True.
I think at this point he's playing with a roster that's not very talented, but he's still trying to do that like outside the box shit that like you used to question, but not really question because it was him. Like,
Because it's Bill Belichick, yeah.
I'm gonna pull Mac Jones after 3 possessions and put in the backup quarterback, but I didn't tell the offense I was gonna do that. But like what? Like
And it almost worked if their defense hadn't done anything. It almost worked.
right. But like he just pulls some crazy shit like that all the time, and it has no business working. Sometimes it does,
Yeah.
but like sometimes it just like seems like he does some of it to be cute and like have people wonder why he's doing things. And all the respect in the world for him, he's going to go down as the goat, and he is the goat. But like he's just not playing with a roster that I think is inferior. I think he's playing with a team that's inferior to the Jets. And I think even if they play 80% of their best ball, I think they should beat the Patriots this Sunday because I'm that confident in the defense. I'm going to go lock it up 24-13 Jets over the Pats on Sunday. Go to 6-2 to a division matchup at home against Buffalo. That will be interesting.
I'll go. It will be. And I like that story. I like that storyline better than same old Jets. So I'm gonna go and lock it in 20-17 Jets.
Okay. Along the same lines, a little bit closer, but along the same lines. Low scoring, scrappy. Maybe score a touchdown, maybe get another. Special teams is playing unbelievable too. That's a big part of it too, is the field position game and
Yeah.
blocking punts, blocking kicks, setting the edge on all the return. Like it's just special teams and defense are a big reason why the Jets are where they are, and I don't see a reason for them to kind of fall back down to earth. I think they're for real.
Let's hope so. Any player props you're thinking? I want to see a Sauce pick six so bad. You have
Yeah,
no
that'd be
idea.
nice.
So bad.
Let's
I
see.
say I think it's gonna be a defensive touchdown. Finally,
I
not
could see
especially.
that.
I think a defensive touchdown.
I think Quinnen Williams is gonna have 2 sacks.
There you go.
I could see that for sure. The way he's playing right now, I don't like that line. Their center's banged up. I think he's in concussion protocol. So the center, I don't think is even going to play. Um, go
I
right up
hope.
the fucking middle and squash fucking Mac Jones.
And wishful thinking too. I hope fucking Moore goes off. I really
Yeah,
do
I
because
really want them to get him cooking for sure.
as much as a lot of the stuff was, he said some shit that was out of whack. It was like whatever. But like we said before, winning is the best deodorant. The first fucking touchdown that he scores, everyone's gonna love him again, and this shit's
Right.
all water
And
under
it's
the
all
bridge.
right. We'll forget it ever happened.
You know what I mean? So just do it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right. That's
Go,
going to
baby.
wrap it. Episode, what is it? 17, did I say?
17, yeah.
Lucky 17 for Garrett Wilson. Would like to see him get more involved this Sunday as well. But that's going to wrap it. Hopefully a huge dub for the Jets coming up on Sunday at MetLife. Jets Pats. We'll talk about it next week and recap with a huge matchup against Buffalo coming up. Other than that, till then, Jet the fuck up, baby.
Let's go, baby. Let's get it.